3 in the morning, July 6, 2011, somewhere in the Gulf of Aden. The crew of a tanker called the Brillante Virtuoso is scrambling in the dark. There's been an explosion. Fire is spreading through the engine room. Within hours, the ship is a smoking, gutted wreck drifting off the coast of Yemen. A total loss. And here's the part that should stop you cold dead. In the water, burned to a shell, that ship was worth more than it had ever been worth afloat. It's not metaphorically, mathematically. To understand how a destroyed ship can outturn a working one, you need to understand one of the strangest corners of the global economy: marine insurance. It's an industry older than most countries. Lloyd's of London started in a coffee house in the 1680s, where merchants gathered to bet on whether ships would come home. Today, that market insures the vessels carrying roughly 80% of everything you own. Your phone, your shoes, the chair you're sitting on, all of it crossed an ocean under an insurance policy. And here's how those policies are supposed to work. A shipowner insures the hull and machinery of a vessel for an agreed value. If the ship sinks, burns, or runs aground beyond saving, the insurer pays out that agreed value. Simple, fair, the owner gets made whole. The insurer collects premiums from thousands of other ships that don't sink, and the math balances out across the fleet. But notice the phrase, doing all the heavy lifting there, agreed value. Not market value, not resale value. Agreed value, a number the owner and the underwriter negotiate when the policy is written. And in that gap between what a ship is insured for and what it would fetch if you tried to sell it, an entire shadow economy lives. Here's the mechanism. Ships age badly. A tanker that costs $90 million new might be worth a fraction of that. After 25 years of saltwater, corrosion, and tightening environmental regulations. When freight markets crash, and they crash hard, regularly an old ship's market value can fall close to its scrap value. The price a breaker's yard in Bangladesh or India will pay for the steel. We're sometimes talking single-digit millions for a vessel insured at several times. That figure, because the insurance was written when markets were hot, or simply negotiated generously. So picture the spreadsheet on an owner's desk during a downturn. Option 1. Keep trading the ship at a loss, paying crew, fuel, maintenance, and port fees, while charter rates won't cover costs. Option 2. Sell it for scrap and pocket a few million. Option 3. The one nobody writes down: the ship suffers a catastrophic accident, and the insurer wires the full agreed value. The insurance industry has a name for the threshold where this gets decided: constructive total loss. If the cost of repairing a damaged ship exceeds its insured value, the underwriter doesn't pay for repairs. They declare the vessel a total loss and pay out the whole policy, which creates a perverse little incentive. The older and less valuable your ship, the easier it is for any serious damage to tip it into total loss territory. A fire that would be a repairable setback on a new vessel is a full payout on an old one. Now, let's be clear about something. The overwhelming majority of marine casualties are exactly what they appear to be: accidents, storms, fires, groundings, human error. But maritime historians and insurers have long acknowledged a pattern. One so old, it predates the steam engine, when shipping markets collapse. Total losses among aging, heavily insured vessels tend to rise. Lloyd's literally coined a phrase for suspicious sinkings centuries ago: ships lost in fine weather. Which brings us back to the Brillante Virtuoso, because this case didn't stay a mystery. It went to court, and what came out was extraordinary. The official story was a pirate attack. Armed men had boarded the tanker off Aden, the account went, and during the incident an explosion set the engine room ablaze. Tragic, but plausible. Minus 2011 was the peak of Somali piracy. The owner's side claimed on the hull insurance, a policy reported at around $77 million. On a 26-year-old tanker that industry observers valued far lower in the prevailing market, had the cargo and other claims, and the total ran toward $100 million. But the underwriters refused to pay, and in 2019, after years of litigation, a judge at the High Court in London ruled on the civil claim, finding that the fire had not been a genuine pirate attack at all. The court concluded the vessel had been deliberately set on fire in a staged incident, with the shipowner found by the judge to have been involved, and that the insurance claim therefore failed. The owner has denied wrongdoing, and those findings came in a civil case, not a criminal conviction, but the judgment laid out, in forensic detail, how a sinking ship can be engineered into a payday. There was even a darker thread. A British marine surveyor named David Mockett, who inspected the burned hull and reportedly voiced doubts about the pirate story, was killed by a car bomb in Yemen weeks later. His murder has never been solved. That's one case that reached daylight. The structural problem is how rarely they do. The ocean is the perfect crime scene. Evidence sinks 2 miles down. Witnesses are crew members on short contracts from a dozen countries. And the ship itself is often owned by a one-vessel shell company registered in a flag of convenience state with little appetite for investigation.
Oh.
Insurers know that fighting a claim in court can cost millions and take a decade. Industry estimates have long suggested that some portion of disputed claims simply get paid because litigating is more expensive than writing the check. So who carries the cost? Start with you. Marine insurance premiums are baked into freight rates, and freight rates are baked into the price of everything on a shelf. When underwriters absorb fraudulent or inflated losses, they don't eat it. They spread it across every honest ship owner's premium, which flows into shipping costs, which flows into consumer prices. It's a tax you've been paying your whole life without ever seeing the line item. Then there's the crew. When a ship is lost for someone else's balance sheet, the people aboard are real. Seafarers, often Filipino, Indian, or Eastern European, earning a fraction of Western wages, are the ones in the water when an aging vessel goes down. Maritime welfare organizations have documented case after case where crews of suspiciously lost ships were left stranded, unpaid, or worse. And the ocean takes its own toll. A sunken tanker is an environmental event, bunker fuel and cargo bleeding into the sea for years. The honest players lose too. Companies like Maersk and Hapag-Lloyd, running modern fleets with rigorous safety standards, share an insurance market with the bottom feeders. Every fraudulent total loss pushes premiums up for everyone and pushes marginal owners closer to the same dark spreadsheet. The insurers, to their credit, have adapted. Modern underwriters scrutinize agreed values against market data, track vessels by satellite, and deploy forensic investigators who can read a burn pattern like a confession. The Brillante judgment itself reportedly emboldened the market to fight suspicious claims rather than settle them. But the underlying incentive hasn't gone anywhere. As long as a piece of paper can value a ship above what the ocean of buyers will pay for it, some ships will be worth more dead than alive. Here's the final twist. The phenomenon is so well documented that economists use marine total loss statistics as a contrarian market signal. When old ships start dying in unusual numbers, it often means freight rates have already collapsed. The sinkings aren't just crimes, they're data. Insurance fraud is only one way the shipping industry turns disaster into revenue. Wait until you see what happens to ships that die legally, driven full speed onto a beach in South Asia, sold by the ton, broken apart by hand. That story is coming next. Because in this industry, nothing simply sinks. Everything eventually gets monetized.